Okay, I think it's high time that I kind of give the backdrop as to my background, how I ended up, how portions of my life story, how I ended up going the direction that I came. Okay, here's the thing. I was born into basically a broken home in March of 1984. So I've been on this wretched ball of dirt we call Earth for 4 decades. I'm close to my mom. I love her. You know, she's number one in my life. It's just the husband she had at that time, quote unquote husband, which I for years I've called him a sperm donor because he was basically abusive and toxic and everything. But you know, I've forgiven him, albeit posthumously. But we'll get there. But for the longest time, you know, I had a lot of hurt when it comes to a father figure, and I also had a lot of spiritual hurt too, as you will see. My mom, she tried raising me in the Pentecostal faith, which is part of the charismatic movement. I just didn't take to it, you know, but at the same time, small wonder I ended up so messed up spiritually and with the toxic so-called father, which I cannot forgive him now, but it's a small wonder I ended up, you know, with emotional baggage on top of spiritual baggage. We moved to a few different cities. You know, I was born in Carbondale, Illinois, the hospital. We ended up in Mom's hometown of Shawneetown and kind of moved around throughout different portions of Illinois, you know, until about the age of 12, you know, where up to that point I was doing what I could to be a good Christian kid. It's just, I didn't know it was called this, but at the time I had what, in hindsight, was a crisis of faith. You know, it revolved around a question as to why I wasn't digging into the Bible and really paying attention in Sunday school and stuff, why I really wasn't taken to it. As a teenager, I got into witchcraft, Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, Satanism, the Lama, and I never got into the sacrifices. Not the flesh and blood, you know, animals, babies, or anything like that. But I would sacrifice people via spell work, you know, curses and stuff. You know, I was pretty messed up for a while, and then one day when I was about 21, 22, my mom started having an affair with a person who would eventually become her second husband. Fortunately, it did result in a 2-year restraining order, and it did kick that toxic individual out on the streets. But Mom's second husband did itself end up in divorce about 18 years later, 16 years later. You know, he had his own toxicity, but since then, you know, him and I have come to terms with the reality of things. And through all of this, I was going through my satanic phase, practicing black magic, studying Aleister Crowley and Golden Dawn and the works of Israel Regardie. Was I happy? Yeah, I was happy. It did bring me happiness. Only at the same time, I was drawing in negativity because I was trying to use it as a justification for basically being a selfish, narcissistic butthole. You know, I mean, up until throughout my 20s, I was just selfish, self-centered, egotistical, just not a very nice person, because even though I wanted to be happy, at that time I really wasn't truly happy because of all the baggage and stuff. And then I was doing all the spiritual stuff, and then while I was still in the state of Illinois, I landed in a group home which is no longer open. It was called Mark Sunset Manor. That was the starting point of me finding internal peace, internal stuff, internal glory. And and funny thing is, I was going to church on a regular basis, albeit for the wrong reasons. I was trying to impress this girl there. I won't mention her name or whatever, but she knows who she is. And yet I managed to find inner peace. And I haven't felt inner peace since I was like 11, 12 years old. Back when I was a kid, I've had inner peace because I was going to church and whatever, even though I didn't think I was getting anything out of it. I go back to church even though it was for the wrong reasons. I find inner peace. And then after about 3 months, and then I wasn't practicing the witchcraft at this time. I wasn't practicing doing any of the rituals or anything, or reading any of the books, because I was too busy trying to work my way through a NIV Bible. Imagine that. Trying to find different verses I can twist around to suit my own negative uses, and it just wasn't working too well, because not only the girl I was trying to impress would call me out on it, but there were a few others there that would too. And after about 3 months, I left there and came home to Mom and her second husband. And I was kind of lying to myself. Secretly I was reading the Bible, but I was reading these other books on witchcraft and black magic and New Age. But secretly I knew some of my intuition, and I didn't realize at that time, but it was the Spirit of God working through me, keeping that inner peace going, because secretly I somehow knew that Christianity was the one true way, at least for me anyways. And then we ended up back at down in Charlottetown with Mom's second husband and my brother. I got a big brother, a couple years older than me. He's cool. I'm just glad Mom was patient with me and this is while I was still in my 20s. And once we moved back down to Charlottetown, somewhere along the line, the NIV Bible was somehow misplaced, and here came the negativity. Here comes the narcissism and the selfishism and egotism of them. I was starting to practice the witchcraft, had an altar and everything. And with this negativity, I thought maybe if I moved back up north to Lawrenceville, because when we moved from Charlottetown as a kid, we moved to Sumner, which is in the county of Lawrence, there in Illinois. And that was where the group home was. It was in Lawrenceville, which was 2 towns over. I thought somewhere in my infinite / arrogant wisdom that it's been a couple years, so maybe I can, work my way into this girl's good graces. But it didn't work, because all through this time, whenever I was getting the negative and in the witchcraft, I wasn't taking care of myself. Wasn't combing my hair, wasn't bathing, would wear the same clothes for weeks, months on end. And that is something I'm still struggling with now. I got these teeth, But, today I did take a bath, and I did put on clean clothes, and I did clip my nails. Take your wins when you can, right? There's things to even now that's, like carry over from those bad days, but anyway, that didn't work out with the girl. She ended up having to kick me on down the road. But at least she was polite about it. I mean, she's got a heart of gold, and thing is, if you read statistics, when a child grows up under an abusive parent, one of two things statistically happen. Either that child grows up to continue being victimized by another abuser in relationships or whatever, or turns out to be an abuser later in life. Well, I was going the route of being the abuser because of how I was raised. I thought that was normal out of a guy, and it wasn't. So she had to kick me on down the road for her, not only her sanity, but for her kids' sanity and her so-called friends' sanity. I was just causing all kinds of trouble because of my own selfishism. And that's what Satanism is. If you read Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, that's basically what it boils down to. Religious egoism, selfishism, narcissism. They try and dress it up as a nihilistic worldview, they try to make things look pretty in order to sell the BS. But whatever. We ended up, then my family ends up moving back to Lawrenceville, which is another childhood town of mine. Because of me, my family ended up burning every bridge we ever had in that town. Bless my mom. She tried to do whatever she could to defend me, trying to be the good mother. She saw the potential because, I did have those moments with her. She saw the good in me. Mom, she was always a good judge of character, bless her heart. So we ended up in Princeton, Indiana. Things don't go where. It was the same thing over again, except I didn't have my altar. I had a friend give me a King James Bible, and there comes the inner peace again when I was studying. And I'm doing the best I can to give the Cliff Notes version of this. And I'm seeing on my little thing that I'm already almost 13 minutes in. But I'm trying to get to all the major key points. So anyway, in Princeton, I was given a King James Bible. Started getting into that, trying to figure out how to twist it in order to make things look good. But at the same time, I really didn't want to because I was being faced with the truth. And I knew, and I knew from prior existence that this is what's going to bring me true inner peace. And some things didn't go very well there because apparently my stepdad, Brandon, got into a fight with the landlord, and town gossip, community gossip in the trailer park was severe, and one thing led to another. Even I didn't blame the landlord. He was just doing what he had to cover his butt. He was a great guy, and if not for the community gossip and the fight, we would have stayed in Princeton, but God had other plans. So we ended up in Vincent's, about 20 miles north of Princeton, which is the town I'm in now. And at this point, I was already in my 30s. And a mom ended up going through another divorce. Only this time, Brandon filed for divorce, falling out of love with her. And this is after he basically verbally and emotionally abused her for however many years. Thank God it wasn't as sexual abuse or physical abuse. As much as I like to say it was a step up, but abuse is abuse. And him, through the process, him and mom did make amends, which is good. Him and I made amends, which is good, because him and I, we had a love-hate relationship for so long because of the way he would treat my mom. I wasn't afraid to bust him in the lip to, to, protect my mom's honor, but, I mean, and when that happened, that's when Mom got sick and her physical health started to go downhill. She ends up in the hospital, and it was looking like, and because she was the overseer of my money, I was never good with, if you give me a pencil and paper, I can do a budget sheet and get my money to where I'm not broke by the end of the day. I have like a couple $100 left after bills, rent, and all, and food and all for the week and all that. But somewhere between that and actually applying it to the real world, I get shopping happy, and I end up broke within a couple days. That's another thing that I'm working on. So I got quite a few things in the real world I'm working on. And I'm getting better every day. I am. I'm getting better every day. Because this is why I've neglected my my ministry for so many months, because this is an idea I had for the past 2 or 3 years, but because of different things I felt like I needed to work on, and whenever Mom got sick, that's when I was introduced to a couple of guys, Nash and Derek, and they were members of the KCRC staff. They took us under their wing, and even though they weren't part of our day-to-day life, they were the ones that basically rescued me and my brother out of the house, which was a train wreck of housekeeping. And I was, was by altar and in negativity again, even though I was very polite with these two guys. For some reason, they both are Christian, and we started talking about Christianity, and again with the inner peace. And and then after about 8 months, 10 months, maybe a year of being in basically a halfway house, I finally got my own apartment, going back into Alice Crowley and witchcraft and stuff. While I was in my apartment, I wasn't picking up after myself. My whole apartment was trashed. All the life skills I learned while I was in the halfway house just went down the toilet. And I basically got evicted. But through all this mess, I met my Katie, and this is where I learned why I couldn't take to Christianity. It's because I was trying to apply charismatic Pentecostal theological stance. I would look up on the internet charismatic Pentecostal theology, and that was tripping me up. I know it sounds odd that I was getting inner peace through God through bad theology, but that's the mystery of Yahweh and His Spirit, and coming to Yeshuah and Yahweh. It's when I met Katie while I was still at the apartment, she departed some truths to me through her research. She always said, do my own research. She introduced me to a app called Eastward. I might link that down in the description. She told me, get these concordances, these Bible dictionaries. Don't worry about all this other stuff. Even though I was trying to proselyte her to get her to come into the dark side, as it were, but she wasn't hearing any of it, and it was so easy for her to shut me down on it. More so when you consider that her and I were already in a relationship at this point, And Katie's really my first ever girlfriend, and that's something I waited until now to say. In 4 decades, I never had a girlfriend until I met Katie, and she introduced me to the Anglo-Israel message, and how to read the Bible, and how to research the Bible and learn what the Bible truly says. She worked with me, and I planned to, and here I am having her to start taking down all these notes and everything. And so, because God forbid I remember all this on my own, and as time went on, and I started learning more and more and more, and started looking at my notes less and less. But I turn to them all the time because there's just so much there. And it can be daunting sometimes because the Bible is a big book and it says a lot. And I thank God that Katie worked with me and I would share my notes with her and she would go in and make whatever corrections for me. And I would look back and now after I got evicted from my apartment, I went back into another KCRC halfway house. Katie, by the way, she lives in Alabama, and she's Yahweh willing, Yeshuah willing, the Spirit of Yahweh willing. Going to come up around Christmas time and get a hotel, and that'll be the first time her and I would meet face to face. But it was Katie that brought me onto this Christian path. It wasn't until I was in this halfway house that I finally threw my hands up, threw out all my witchcraft books, and that I spent hard money on, and started calling myself a Christian. And when that happened, I talked about inner peace before throughout my life, but it wasn't at the level that I had when I was 10 or 11 years old. That's the inner peace that I have now. Once I gave my life to Yeshuah, when I gave my life to Yahweh, and accepted Yeshuah, the Christ, as my Savior, and allowed the Spirit of Yahweh come into my heart. And the first thing Yahweh wanted me to do was work on myself. I know it sounds selfish, but Yahweh wanted me to prepare me as His vessel. And that's why my videos have been sporadic. I tried doing a Bible study night study, and I think I might have mentioned this before, but if not, I'll say it again. I tried doing a Bible study at the library, but because it's a public library, they won't allow religious service to go there, which is understandable because if they allow one, they have to allow others, whatever. I go there and talk about, say, a Stephen King book, or one of the Christian books. So we do a book for the month. It could be religious in nature. There's a difference between that, talking about a religious book outside the Bible, and a religious service, apparently. So it's all part of the whole separation of church and state. And even then, the Spirit of Yahweh was telling me to start my ministry with YouTube. Start there and the rest will fall into place. Because He gave me a vision. Okay? Just like He gave Paul the Apostle a vision. I just have to learn to quit being so arrogant, for one, and quit being, well, I guess you could say, procrastinate, and continue working on my goals, and accept the fact that I'm not perfect, but I can still complete my goals, do better, make sure I wear clean clothes every day, bathe on a regular basis, and focus on my YouTube videos and make a ministry out of it, and my life will be so much better. And I remember the day I gave my life to the Lord. Kitty, she guided me through a prayer because I didn't know what to say because I was so ashamed of myself. It was June 8th, 2024. which is ironic because that's my brother's birthday. You know, my mom, she gave me a big old hug, even though she's in a nursing home right now. You know, she's got all her wisdom and humor, so her brain is fine. It's just her physical body from all the abuses and whatnot. You know, it's so bad she has to have a pill to turn off her immune system because her immune system is starting to turn against it. She's doing good though. I mean, I try to see her at least a couple times a week, you know. And I've been wanting to try to see her more often than that, but you know, that procrastination, you know. Yeah, so I gave my life to Yahweh the Lord. And my YouTube channel is now a ministry called New Hope Disciples. New Hope because I found new hope for myself, and disciples because I'm a disciple of Christ. So that's basically coming to Jesus, Yahweh. I'm still used to saying God and Jesus. You know, I know it's been a few months, but it's a work in progress. You know, I mean, I just learned that the sacred Hebrew name of the Christian God is Yehovah and Elohim just recently. And around the same time, I just learned it's Yeshuah, not Jesus. So I'm still learning all kinds of new stuff, even now. So until next time, may the Lord, Yahweh, and Yeshuah, and the Spirit of Jehovah bless your life.